The room was too quiet for the kind of truth that had just been spoken. Neon light hummed above the glass table in the private clinic on Lagos Island. The lab technician had stepped out, trembling. Dr. Okafor stood frozen, fingers pressed to a printout, and read the line again like maybe the letters would rearrange themselves and become less dangerous. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. Damien Cole didn't blink. Billionaire. Founder of Cole Energy and Tech Atlanta, polished yet Lagos familiar, his suit as sharp as the silence. His eyes slid from the printout to the young woman seated opposite him, skin the color of roasted cola, cheeks hollow from too many sleepless nights, a thrift store dress pinned at the shoulder. Amara Nwosu held her breath. She had counted everything in the last month, the seconds it took a blood pressure cuff to deflate, the meters from the bus stop to the elevator, every naira note crumpled in her palm. But she had not counted on this. On the table between them lay the envelope she could not afford and the life she could not deny, the ultrasound photo, the payment receipts for her sister's surgery, and the non-disclosure agreement that had felt like a trap disguised as a lifeline. Kunle, Damien's head of security, pushed from the wall. His voice was granite. "Sir, we need a minute." Damien didn't look away from Amara. "Say it in front of her." Kunle hesitated, then leaned down, the words finding the narrow space between respect and alarm. "Since the accident, Atlanta, 3 years ago, your file says you're sterile." The air snapped like a wire pulled too tight. Dr. Okafor swallowed. "Mr. Cole, we ran the test 3 times. Different kits. Different readers. Same result." Amara's fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. She felt the room tilt as if the city outside had slipped sideways into the lagoon. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You're saying you're the father and you're not the father?" Damien's jaw locked. "I'm saying somebody is playing with science or with us." The ultrasound photo trembled between them. It was a little moon on a black ocean, proof of a night she'd promised herself never to remember and couldn't forget even if she tried. The night had begun with a price. 2 weeks earlier, rain hammered the corrugated roof of the shared compound in Ajigunle. The smell of damp earth pushed through the window slats. Amara's sister, Kayamaka, lay curled on the foam mattress, sweating through her headscarf. The hospital had said the word that wrecks the heart and the wallet in one breath. Emergency. A ruptured cyst. Internal bleeding. Surgery now. "How much?" Amara asked, her voice small. The nurse at the desk didn't flinch. She had said this too many times to too many people. 5 million naira for deposit. The rest after. Amara did the math she hated. Her market job at the fabric stall brought in barely enough for rent and Gary. Her side gig cleaning offices in Surulere kept the landlord's threats away. She had 12,000 naira saved. A cousin sent 10, a neighbor 10 more, a church member promised prayers that move mountains, which did not move the cashier's hand. She sold her gold-plated earrings for the price of a bus ticket. She begged the HMO rep until her throat burned. She pawned her mother's wrapper, the one with the bright fish scales that had danced at church weddings. She called Tay, her best friend, who worked as a hostess at the kind of hotel where the floor shone like a mirror and the guests never looked down. "Come tonight," Tay said. Wind and music hissed through the call. The Cole Foundation Gala. Rich people dropping money like confetti. "Someone there will pay if you know how to ask." Amara's stomach turned. "Ask who?" "People like that don't see girls like me." "Girl, they see what stands in their light," Tay said. "Just stand there. Make them see you." The night bared its teeth. Amara wore her best dress, navy, modest, pressed so hard the seams begged for air, and borrowed Tay's low heels. She painted her lips with a 10-year-old drugstore red and hid the hospital receipts in her clutch. Eco Hotel's ballroom was every dream told to a hungry child. Crystal chandeliers. Tables with napkins folded like swans. Men in tuxedos whose cufflinks caught the light. Women whose gowns were as soft and expensive as prayers. The band floated high life across the room, the music smiling without meaning it. At the center of it all, like a lighthouse, stood Damien Cole. She knew him from the billboards on 3rd Mainland Bridge, the interviews where he said scale and impact like they were softer words than they were. He was taller than the pictures, and he watched the room the way a man watches a problem he's already solved. Tay pressed the champagne flute into Amara's hand. "Don't drink. Just hold it so security doesn't think you're lost." "I am lost," Amara said. But she drifted toward the charity board where people wrote numbers and pledged them out loud. A woman with a diamond like a drop of frozen rain pledged 50 million for a pediatric ward in Yaba. A man with a beard like a constellation pledged 30 for a STEM program. Amara stared at the pen on the table as if it were a miracle stick that could turn ink into doctors. Her hand shook. She reached for it, then froze when a deep voice, velvet and steel, spoke above her shoulder. You look like you're about to write something dangerous. Damien. Up close, his cologne smelled like rain on concrete and something older, like wood warmed by sun. It wasn't fair that rich men could smell like feelings. She turned, words scrambling. My sister, she needs surgery. I'm sorry, I know this is not how. Sit, he said softly, guiding her to a side table behind a tall plant where cameras didn't reach. Tell me. She told him everything, the short version pulled tight so it wouldn't unravel into tears. He listened without frowning, without glancing at his watch. When she finished, he asked a question no one had asked her all day. What's her name? Kayamika, Amara said, and her voice cracked. He nodded once as if that name unlocked a door. He tapped his phone. Kunle, get the hospital CFO on the line. Lagos Island, emergency surgery, name's Amara Nwosu. He glanced at Amara. NWOSU. She nodded, throat closing. Transfer the deposit, he said. Now. He ended the call, and in that instant relief hit her so hard she grabbed the table to stay upright. It was dizzying. To be poor is to live half underwater, to suddenly breathe air is to panic. I don't know how to repay, she began. Do not repay. Heal your sister, he said. And the story could have ended there, but it didn't. Because nothing ends neatly where money and need shake hands. The gala swallowed them again. Speeches, a photo, a joke she didn't get, but it was not until after midnight when the lights thinned and security started guiding donors to cars that the trap laid its bait. A woman in a silk dress the color of old wine touched Amara's arm near the elevators. She had the controlled smile of someone who never hears the word no. Mr. Cole asked me to escort you upstairs to sign a few papers and get a ride home, she murmured. Papers meant permanence. Papers meant no one could change their mind in the morning. Amara nodded. Her heels clicked on marble. The elevator rose. The suite door opened on a room that looked like a magazine lied, wide, quiet, everything too soft to be used. There were papers. There was also a glass of water on a low table that tasted faintly sweet. She hadn't eaten since noon. She drank half. Her knees loosened like warmth tugged through her bloodstream. The city outside blurred. The night folded into itself. She remembered flashes. A hand at her elbow. A laugh that was not kind and not unkind, just sure. A jacket placed on a chair. The smell of that rain-and-wood cologne again. Her own voice saying, I should go, and a voice answering, you're safe. The way her body felt like it had been wrapped in cotton and rolled downhill. She woke before dawn to a note. Your sister's deposit is secured. A car will take you, and to a room that was tidy, the bed smooth, her dress on a chair, her ID placed carefully on top. No one next to her. No one to ask. Only the slow boil of shame that didn't know what shape to take. She went home. She went to the hospital. She held Kayamika's hand through the hiss of oxygen and the beep of a machine that counted seconds like money. The surgery happened. It succeeded. Her sister blinked awake. Relief poured through Amara like rain into a cracked bucket. It didn't fill everything, but it found every fracture. And then the late period. Then the test strip that bloomed 2 lines like a cruel magic trick. Then the call from a blocked number. Then the NDA slid across a table at a downtown office with tinted glass. A deposit into her account that looked like a typo until the app confirmed it was not. A calm woman in a gray suit saying, this protects everyone. Especially you. Which is how she had ended up here at the clinic, because the gray suit woman had insisted on a test to avoid confusion, and because Damien had agreed to meet, his voice flat, his eyes unreadable, as if he had already decided where to put this problem on his very expensive shelf. Now, as the doctor's words hung between them, confusion was all they had. Sterile? Amara said and tasted the salt of it. Then who? Are you saying I'm lying? I'm saying someone is lying, Damien answered quietly. Either the science is wrong or the story we think we lived is not the story that happened. Kunle's phone buzzed and kept buzzing. He glanced down, frowning. Sir, the clinic servers just spiked. Remote access. Someone's trying to pull the lab files. Dr. Okafor startled. What? We're offline. Not anymore, Kunle snapped, already moving. 2 security men appeared at the door as if they'd been conjured. Amara pushed her chair back, panic rising hot and stupid. I don't know anything about servers. I came here because you told me to. Damien stood. For the first time, something like fear flickered beneath his calm. He reached across the table, not to touch her but to anchor the words. Listen to me. That night, I came to the suite after midnight to sign documents. I remember drinking water. And then I remember almost nothing until morning. Either someone drugged both of us or someone wants us to believe we did something we didn't. The door burst inward. A man in a navy blazer with a clinic badge stumbled in, breathless. Doctor. Your office. Someone smashed the server tower. And the backup drives are gone. The ultrasound photo slid to the edge of the glass and hovered there, one tiny moon about to fall. Footsteps thundered down the hall. Voices overlapped, panicked. Somewhere a woman screamed. Damien met Amara's eyes, the full weight of his fortune and his fear converging on a single, impossible sentence. If I'm sterile and you're carrying my child, he said, voice low enough to disappear into the sirens starting outside, then whoever arranged that night isn't finished with us. Before Amara could answer, the clinic lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. And in the blackout silence, a phone lit up with a single message that made her blood freeze. Take the money and disappear, Amara. Or next time we won't miss. The blackout swallowed every sound and stretched each second until it hurt. For a breath, nobody moved. Then Kunle's voice cut the dark, low, clipped, controlled. Flashlights. Close that door. White cones of light sliced the room. The guards formed a wall. Dr. Okafor clutched the table as if it were the only honest thing left. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs. She pressed a palm to her belly, a reflex, and hated herself for doing it in front of them. Phones down, Kunle ordered. No calls. No photos. Whoever hit the server wants chaos. The clinic emergency lights flickered back to life, a weak orange glow. Sirens wailed outside. Rain began to needle the windows. Lagos was always honest about its storms. Damien's gaze never left Amara. It wasn't unkind. It wasn't kind. It was exact. You have somewhere safe to go? He asked. My sister, Amara managed. She's at the hospital across town. I have to go to her. Kunle shook his head. Not alone. Not tonight. He tapped his earpiece. Black SUV at the rear exit. Move. Dr. Okafor slid the lab report into a manila folder with shaking hands. Take this. Hard copy. I'll print a second set. No, the printer queue is dead. Okay, I'll write a summary. He scribbled on a prescription pad. Dates, codes, his signature scrawled 3 times like he was trying to pin the truth to paper. Damien reached for the folder, then paused and looked at Amara again. You carry it. She took it. It felt heavier than paper. The walk down the corridor was a tunnel of whispers and skittering feet. Nurses hurried patients to stairwells. A cleaner stood frozen, mop raised like a question. At the rear exit, the security floodlight cast everything in harsh, unflattering honesty. The SUV idled. The night smelled like wet asphalt and fear. They piled in. Kunle up front. 2 guards in the second car behind. Damien beside Amara in the back, his shoulders squared as if a board meeting were about to attack him. He glanced at the reflective glass. No direct routes, he told the driver. Lose tails even if you don't see them. Lagos at night blurred by, storefronts pulled shut like tired eyelids, Danfo buses sleeping like animals, a hawker still selling boiled corn under a nylon sheet. They crossed the 3rd mainland bridge. Rain smeared the city into streaks of light. Amara watched the ghost of her own face in the window. The girl in the glass looked older. She pressed her thumb against the bridge of her nose to push back tears. Not now. Not in front of this man who made problems go away by calling them by name. He spoke first. 3 years ago, I was in an accident in Atlanta. A jackknifed truck on the I-85. There was surgery. Recovery. He watched the rain. A doctor told me I couldn't have children. I accepted it. I stopped asking questions that couldn't help. Which doctor? Amara asked before she could stop herself. His jaw moved once. A specialist who doesn't take calls. Kunle cut in, eyes flicking to the mirror. Sir, we're getting pings. Not following us. Scraping your socials. 2 burner accounts posting that you assaulted a woman at Eco Hotel. Amara flinched as if something had reached through the glass and struck her. That's a lie. I know, Kunle said steady. But lies don't need legs to run. Damien's voice flattened. How much is out? Just the headline and a blurred photo. Could be anyone in a navy dress. Kunle met Amara's gaze in the mirror. They want you scared enough to hide. Or angry enough to make a mistake. Amara held the folder tighter. I don't hide. I work. I take care of my sister. For the first time, the corner of Damien's mouth tilted, not quite a smile. Good. Hold that. They swung off the bridge toward the hospital. But 10 streets away, the blue wash of police lights bloomed. A barricade. Officers waved cars to a detour. The driver eased off. The second SUV braked behind them. Kunle swore under his breath. I don't like coincidence. The driver cut down a side road. Narrow. Flooded in places. Children's chalk drawings washed into pale ghosts. A man dragging a generator under a tarp watched them pass with eyes that could count banknotes by the sound of an engine. They reached the hospital back gate. A security guard recognized Damien instantly, money is a face, and lifted the barrier. The SUV rolled under the awning. Kunle hopped out first, scanning. 5 minutes, he told Damien. In and out. Wait, Amara said, hand on the door handle. No cameras. Kunle frowned. She swallowed. Not because I'm hiding. Because my sister doesn't need to be content for somebody else's story. A beat. Kunle nodded. Understood. They hustled through the ward. The smell of antiseptic and pap hung like a veil. Kayamika slept, lashes resting on swollen cheeks, hair tied back under a cheap scarf printed with sunflowers. Amara brushed knuckles across her sister's forehead. Warm, not hot. She set the folder under the mattress the way you hide money in poor houses. Hey, she whispered. You're okay. Kayamika's eyes fluttered. Ami? Her voice was a scratch. You came. I always come. Kayamika frowned at the man and his expensive silence. Who's that? A donor, Amara said quickly. Kayamika's mouth quirked. Donors don't look like trouble, she murmured, half asleep. That one does. Damien inclined his head, as if the patient had handed him an audit. She's perceptive. A nurse entered, startled at the sight of this trio. She recovered, checking the drip line, the chart, the drain. She is stable, the nurse said. Whoever paid that deposit did a good thing. Amara looked at the floor. Thank you. Back in the corridor, Kunle touched his earpiece. We have to go. 2 men just asked the front desk for the sister of the girl with the emergency surgery. No names. Cash in hand. Show me, Damien said. Kunle angled his phone. Grainy CCTV. 2 men in baseball caps, the kind you buy to not be remembered. One tugged his brim low when the camera turned. The other wore a cheap imitation of Damien's cologne. The nurse passing them wrinkled her nose. The first man handed the receptionist a slip of paper. The desk nurse shook her head. The men leaned in. The nurse reached discreetly for the call button under the desk. The driver appeared at the end of the corridor. Time. They moved. In the SUV again, the rain thickened, drumming. Amara stared at her hands. Who are they? She asked. Either amateurs with bad timing, Kunle said, or professionals pretending to be amateurs. And what do they want me to do? Disappear, Damien said softly. Or explode. Explode. Make a scene online. Accuse. Cry. Fight. Feed the beast they've set loose with the rumor. Then they turn that against you. Amara let the words sit. She had lived her whole life under rules she hadn't written. But this felt like someone had printed new rules overnight and pinned them to the city. Who would do this? She asked. Someone who hates you? Damien watched the city blur. Hate is cheap. I have competitors. Enemies. People who think I owe them a future I didn't promise. He sighed, then stopped himself as if even sighing could be turned into a quote. 3 weeks ago, I pulled out of a joint venture with Kestrel Global. Their CEO, Marcus Hale, doesn't accept no like a sentence. He hears it like a dare. An American? Kunle asked. American with new Lagos friends. Kunle grunted. We'll map his friends. But it could also be local. Someone close. Someone who had access to our movements and the gala floor plan. Amara thought of the velvet rope, the smiling hostess who had guided her upstairs, the water that tasted faintly wrong. Shame flared hot. I should have known. Known what? Damien's voice cut clean through the self-blame. That rich people's rooms are safer than the world? They aren't. They are just quieter when bad things happen. The SUV turned into Surulere. Amara's building crouched behind a mechanic's shop and a row of palm trees too tired to wave. The driver slowed. Wait, Kunle warned. We don't stop unless. Amara pointed. That's my landlord, she said. He'll block the gate if he sees this car and start shouting about rent and big men who forget their trousers. Damien made a small gesture. The driver kept going, looped around the block and stopped near a narrow alley. We'll walk the last 30 meters, Kunle said. No one sees the car. We exit in shifts. But as Amara reached for the door, her phone vibrated. A known number. The message preview sat like a snake on the lock screen. Check your door. Her blood went cold. Someone texted me. Show me, Kunle said. She handed him the phone. He read, then scanned the alley. Stay in the car. I can't. Stay. He took one guard and ghosted down the alley. Body language turned to vapor. Damien and Amara waited in a silence made of rain and the tick of the dashboard clock. She counted to 30. Counted again. Kunle came back sooner than fear had promised. His mouth was a line. He held a thin brown envelope, the kind you buy at a kiosk for school fees and secrets. It was addressed in block letters, Amara. He didn't hand it to her. He opened it carefully like it might bite. Inside, a single glossy photo and a thumb drive. He showed the photo to Damien first. Damien's face did not change. But the air around him did. Kunle turned the photo for Amara. Her mouth dried. The hotel suite. The navy dress on a chair. Her body on the bed, eyes closed, face slack with whatever they had given her. And beside the bed, a figure, half in shadow, half in the hallway light, standing over her. Not Damien. The line of the jaw was different. The hair was close-cropped. The wrist wore a bracelet of dark beads and a silver charm shaped like a tiny bird. Amara's voice was a scrape. Who is that? Kunle lifted the corner of the photo with a gloved finger. The angle is designed to hide his face. But that bracelet, that's a mark. Lagos boys wear it for style. Politicians wear it to look like Lagos boys. Damien took a slow breath. Hale wears cufflinks. Not beads. Amara swallowed. The thumb drive. Kunle slid it into a secure reader attached to his phone. He watched the screen, expression blanking into professional. Then he looked up. It's a video. He didn't describe it. He played 3 silent seconds. The suite again. The same figure leaning over the bed. A hand, gloved, placing Amara's ID card on the nightstand beside a crystal glass. The camera panned deliberately to the mirror. A reflection flashed. A second person behind the camera, masked, but for a heartbeat as the phone adjusted focus, a ring caught the light. It was a signet ring with a lion's head. Kunle stopped the clip. The message with the photo said, "Take the money and disappear," Amara whispered. Now this. They want you terrified, Kunle said. And us focused on the wrong man. Damien's voice had lost its velvet. It was steel now, bare and cold. Find every photo of every man in my orbit with a lion signet ring, he said. Board members, partners, drivers, old school friends, my father's old allies. Start there. Kunle nodded, already typing. Amara's phone buzzed again. A new message. No number this time. Just a single sentence that made the bottom drop out of her world. Congratulations, Mama. You're carrying twins. Her breath hitched. She looked at Damien. His eyebrows rose. Surprise, calculation, something like wonder forced into a corner. We never did a scan for multiples, Dr. Okafor had said earlier. Had he? Or had that been her mind playing tricks with timelines? Amara pressed a trembling hand to her belly. Twins. Twice the risk. Twice the proof. Twice the leverage for whoever wanted to play God. Is it true? She asked the space, the rain, anyone? Kunle's radio crackled. A voice at the hospital end shouted something about the 2 men in caps doubling back. The driver's knuckles went white on the wheel. The alley filled with the smell of exhaust and rain. Damien leaned forward, voice low and final. Whoever staged that night thinks they can write the ending. They can't. He glanced at the photo again, at the bead bracelet and the signet ring's glint. But before we move, I need to answer a different question. The only one that matters. He turned to Amara, and for a heartbeat, the billionaire mask fell away, leaving a man who looked unexpectedly young under the weight of old decisions. If you could go back to that night, he asked, each word clean as a promise, and choose again, knowing what you know now, would you have taken my help? The SUV engine hummed. Rain hammered the roof. Somewhere in the alley, a dog barked once and then kept quiet like it had been warned. Amara opened her mouth to answer. And the alley exploded with white light as a third car slid in sideways, blocking their only exit, doors already flying open. The blinding headlights swallowed everything. Faces, fear, sense of direction. The SUV rocked as the driver slammed the brakes, tires screaming against the wet ground. Rain scattered in arcs of silver light. Down? Kunle barked, already reaching for his sidearm. He cracked the door open an inch, peered through, then hissed. 2 men left, 1 right. Not police. Damien's hand shot to Amara's shoulder, pushing her low against the seat. Stay down. Don't move. Amara's heart raced so hard it drowned out the rain. She could taste metal in her mouth. Her fingers gripped the manila folder still pressed against her chest. Her entire life, her sister, her unborn children, her own innocence, fit inside that thin envelope. The car blocking the alley door opened. A man stepped out, umbrella tilted just enough to hide his face. He didn't shout, didn't run. He simply walked toward them as though the rain and danger belonged to someone else. Each step splashed softly, deliberate. Kunle muttered, "This one's not hired muscle. This one gives orders." Damien squinted through the rain-blurred glass. "Do you recognize him?" "Not yet," Kunle said. "But whoever he is, he came to be seen." Amara lifted her head slightly. The man in the umbrella wore a charcoal suit, too fine for a thug, too dry for a bystander. The faint glint of a ring flashed when he adjusted his umbrella. The same lion's head engraving from the video. Her voice cracked. "That ring. It's him." The man stopped 5 meters away, smiled, a small knowing curve of the mouth, and raised his free hand. Kunle's finger tensed on the trigger. "Permission." Damien's jaw tightened. "Not yet." The man dropped something in the puddle, a flash drive in a small plastic bag, and turned his back. He walked calmly to the waiting car, the umbrella bobbing like punctuation to a silent sentence. The engine roared, tires splashed, and the car sped off into the night. No shots fired. No words spoken. Just a ghost leaving evidence like a riddle. Kunle waited a beat, then stepped out, scooped the bag, scanned the alley, and ducked back in. "Drive," he snapped. The SUV lurched forward, bumping over potholes. Rain slapped the roof harder, as if the sky itself wanted to drown the city's secrets. Amara hugged her arms. "Why are they doing this?" Her voice trembled. "Why me?" Damien didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed fixed on the flash drive in Kunle's hand. "Because someone wants me broken," he said finally. "And you are the perfect weapon." Kunle inserted the flash drive into the encrypted phone again. The screen flickered, loading. Then, static, darkness, and a single frame, the same hotel room. This time a different angle. The camera faced the doorway. Damien himself appeared, unsteady, walking into the room. He spoke to someone unseen. The video skipped frames, glitching. Then it showed him sitting at the bed's edge, talking to someone out of sight. His movements were sluggish, his words slurred. He reached for a glass. Drank. Then the picture cut to black. When the next image appeared, Damien was unconscious. And a shadowed figure walked into view, the same man with the lion ring. Kunle's thumb froze on pause. "He drugged both of you," he muttered. Damien's knuckles whitened. "Play the sound." Kunle boosted the audio. Muffled. But 2 sentences came through clearly. "Make sure the girl doesn't wake up till morning. And then, the blood test will seal it." Amara gasped. "The blood test?" "They planned this," Damien said. "Every step. The encounter. The clinic. The leak. Even the pregnancy." Kunle frowned. "Sir, that's not possible unless they knew my medical history," Damien cut in sharply. "Which only 4 people in this world do." "Your ex-wife?" Kunle asked. "No," Damien said. "She'd burn my company before she touched a scandal this dirty." "Then who?" Damien's eyes turned to the rain-beaded glass. "My father's lawyer. And Marcus Hale." The name hung heavy. Amara whispered, "The same American you said doesn't take no for an answer?" "Yes," Damien said. "And he knows exactly how to turn a secret into a war." Kunle pulled out another phone. "We can trace this drive source. Get a digital signature." "No," Damien said, voice calm but lethal. "We don't chase smoke tonight. We find solid ground." He turned to Amara. "Pack a small bag. Clothes, documents. You're not staying in that apartment." Her eyes widened. "What? I can't just vanish. My sister's surgery, her care, everything's at that hospital." "She'll be moved," Damien said, tone final. "To a safer ward under a different name. If they found your door once, they'll find it again." Amara's breath caught. "But why are you helping me? If this was all a setup?" "Because they didn't just use me," he said, eyes hard. "They used you. You were the bait. I was the target." The car turned into a quiet estate road, lit only by puddles catching streetlight reflections. The walls grew taller, quieter. Gates with security posts stood like silent sentinels. Kunle spoke low. "Safe house. Lekki Phase 1. Private guard rotation. No digital footprint." The SUV rolled to a stop before a nondescript bungalow. 2 guards opened the gate, scanning the street before they waved them in. Inside, the house smelled faintly of cedar and rain. Minimal furniture. Clean sheets. No personal items. The kind of place meant to exist and vanish on command. Amara stood still in the doorway. "It feels like I'm dreaming," she murmured. "A nightmare pretending to be safety." Damien's phone buzzed. He checked it. A message from an unknown number again. This time it read, "You're getting too close. The truth won't save her." He turned the phone so Kunle could see. Kunle frowned. "Them again?" "Yes," Damien said. "And this time they're not bluffing." An hour later, the rain had quieted. Amara sat by the window, wrapped in a borrowed sweater. The room's stillness pressed against her like a hand over her mouth. Her mind replayed every moment of the gala, every sip of water, every flash of light. How many people had seen her that night? How many had been part of the plan? Footsteps approached. Damien entered, jacket off now, sleeves rolled. "Can I come in?" She nodded silently. He handed her a steaming cup. "Chamomile. It helps." She took it, hands trembling slightly. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You shouldn't." He cut her off gently. "Don't apologize for what someone else did." She stared at the steam curling upward. "You said you were sterile. If that's true, then who is the father?" Damien's jaw tightened. "If we're to believe the test, the child, or children, carry my DNA. Which means either I was never sterile, or someone made sure the test said I was." "Made sure?" Amara looked up. "Yes," he said. "Imagine you tell the world a billionaire can't have children. Then one day a poor girl appears pregnant with his child. What happens next?" "They destroy him," Amara whispered. "And the girl?" Damien said quietly. "Always the girl." A silence stretched, heavy with unspoken fear. Then Damien's phone rang. Kunle's voice was tight. "Sir, you need to see this." They went to the living room. The large screen on the wall showed a news site, breaking news headline blazing across the top. "Billionaire Damien Cole accused of impregnating young cleaner at Lagos hotel, police investigation underway." Amara's knees buckled. No. Her own photo was there. From the gala. Her face half-turned, her eyes bright with hope and nerves, now twisted into a scandal headline. Damien read the subtext aloud. "Anonymous source provides medical evidence and video footage linking billionaire to poor Lagos girl after charity event." Kunle clicked another tab. They released the clip. Edited. Just enough to make it look real. Damien stared at the screen. "They're fast. They want public opinion before the truth." "Sir," Kunle said carefully, "your board will demand an emergency statement by morning." "They'll get one," Damien replied. His voice dropped. "But not the one they expect." He turned to Amara, whose eyes brimmed with helpless tears. "You need to disappear for a few days. Somewhere no one will think to look." "Disappear?" she repeated, shaking her head. "And go where? I don't even have family outside Lagos." "I do," he said. "A friend in Ibadan. Quiet. Loyal. He'll keep you safe." "I'm not leaving Kayamika," she snapped. Damien met her glare. "You will if you want her alive." The words hit like a slap. She froze. "What are you saying?" Kunle's phone buzzed again. He checked it, face hardening. "We just lost the hospital's security feed. All cameras down. The two men in caps, they're back." Amara's hand flew to her mouth. "Kayamika." "We'll get her," Damien said, moving fast toward the door. "Kunle with me." "Sir, you shouldn't." "I'm not asking." He turned back to Amara, voice steady but urgent. "Lock this door. Don't open it for anyone but Kunle or me. Damien, please." But he was gone. The engine roared outside. Tires screeched. The safe house trembled with their departure. Amara sank to the floor, shaking. The news headlines still glowed on the TV, her own name now tangled with power, deceit, and danger. Thunder cracked again outside, echoing like a warning. She whispered into the silence, tears slipping free, "Please, just save my sister." Then from the corridor, a faint creak, footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Amara froze. She hadn't locked the back door. Her breath hitched as a shadow fell across the living room doorway. A deep voice whispered from the dark, chilling her to the bone. "You should have taken the money, Amara." Comment below where you're watching from and share your thoughts. Your opinion matters to us. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story if you're hooked already, because the next chapter's twist will leave your jaw on the floor. Amara's pulse slammed in her ears. The voice was close, too close. The shadow in the doorway stretched across the tiled floor like a stain. "Who's there?" she managed to whisper, her voice trembling. No reply. Just the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps stepping out of the darkness. Then he appeared, a tall man in a dark raincoat, hood drawn low, his face half hidden. His left wrist glimmered with something familiar. Beads. A silver bird charm. Amara's breath caught. The bracelet. He smiled faintly, seeing recognition flash across her face. So, you remember me, he said softly. His accent was Lagos mixed with something foreign, British maybe, but his eyes were pure menace. Good. That means this will be faster. What do you want from me? She whispered, backing away until her shoulders hit the wall. He moved closer, rain dripping from his coat. You should have taken the money, Amara. You were paid to vanish. Instead, you're still breathing, still talking, still asking questions. I don't know anything, she cried. I never wanted this. I just wanted to save my sister. He chuckled darkly. And you did. But every debt has interest. Her hand inched toward the small lamp on the side table. Stay back, she warned. He ignored her. You think Damien Cole will protect you? That man's already falling apart. When the news spreads, when his investors panic, he'll trade your silence for his company. You're nothing to him but a receipt for a mistake. That's not true, she said shakily, though doubt clawed her heart. Isn't it? He sneered. He's not your savior, Amara. He's just another rich man cleaning up a mess he paid for. The words stung because they almost made sense. But Amara saw through the tone, the practiced cruelty of someone used to control. She had spent years reading faces at the market, learning who would bargain and who would break. This man was hiding something, too careful, too confident. He took one more step forward. That was his mistake. Amara grabbed the lamp and swung it with all her strength. The bulb shattered against his shoulder. He staggered, cursed, and the raincoat slipped, revealing a partial glimpse of his face. A small scar under the left eye. She bolted for the back door. He lunged, catching her wrist. Don't be stupid. Amara twisted, bit down on his hand hard. He shouted in pain, releasing her. She ran into the yard, barefoot, rain-soaked, heart in her throat. The gate was chained. The guard post was empty. Lightning split the sky. She looked back. He was already at the door, limping slightly, fury burning in his eyes. Amara ducked behind the water tank, gasping for breath. Her fingers found her phone in her pocket. She tried to call Damien. No signal. The man's voice echoed through the rain. You can't hide, Amara. They always find the girl. Always. Something crashed behind him, loud, sharp, metallic. Headlights flared from the front of the compound. A car door slammed. Amara. Damien's voice. She didn't wait. She ran toward the sound. The intruder cursed, spun, and drew a small pistol. The first shot ripped through the rain. Amara screamed and ducked. Damien's SUV screeched to a halt. Kunle leapt out, gun drawn, firing back. Go. Go, he shouted. Damien grabbed Amara's arm and pulled her into the vehicle. Kunle fired again. The attacker dove behind the water tank, a shadow melting into rain. Tires squealed. The SUV tore through the gate, sparks flying as it broke the chain. Inside, Amara clung to the seat, sobbing, her whole body trembling. Are you hurt? Damien asked, checking her shoulder, her face, her trembling hands. No, I'm fine, she gasped. He was here. The man from the photo. He said I should have taken the money. Kunle's jaw tightened. He'll regret not finishing what he started. Damien looked out the back window, voice cold and sharp. No. He just made his last mistake. The city blurred past, lights streaking through the rain. Amara's thoughts spun. He said you'd trade me for your company, is that true? Damien's silence stretched long enough for fear to creep in again. Then he said quietly, I've lost companies before. I've never lost my conscience. Whoever he is, he underestimated what happens when someone touches the only thing I care about. The only thing you care about? She echoed. He didn't look at her. Right now, that's keeping you alive. They sped toward the highway. Kunle was on the phone with another agent, voice clipped. Yes, sweep the hospital, now. Secure the girl, alias Amara Nwosu. Move her to St. Agnes private under police protection. And find that man. Scar under left eye, silver bird bracelet. Shoot to disable. Amara's breath hitched. Amara, she's safe? We'll make sure she is, Kunle said firmly. Then, as if summoned by fate, his phone rang again. He answered, and his expression changed. Sir, he said quietly to Damien, the hospital was attacked 10 minutes ago. 2 men. 1 shot fired. Amara's world stopped. No, No, please. Kunle continued, they didn't get to Kayamaka. But they killed a nurse. They were looking for a file. They said the name Amara before they escaped. Amara buried her face in her hands. I brought death to her doorstep. Damien reached over, his hand firm on her shoulder. No. You brought their fear. That's different. Fear means they're losing control. But why me? She whispered. Why not just go after you directly? Because you're the one thing I can't explain away with money or lawyers, he said. You're the truth. And truth is what they fear most. Silence fell. The SUV sped through the night toward the mainland. Finally, Kunle spoke again. We can't keep running, sir. We need to hit back. Damien nodded slowly. We will. But not with bullets. With exposure. He turned to Amara. You said you worked in a fabric market before all this, right? She blinked. Yes, why? Damien's eyes gleamed with an idea forming. Then tomorrow we go back there. You'll meet someone, an old friend of mine named Mama Kelechi. She runs half the underground information trade in Lagos. She can find people faster than the police. Amara frowned. A market woman? She used to run the intelligence desk for the Nigerian Navy before she retired, Kunle explained with a smirk. Now she trades gossip for gold. Damien looked at Amara, his tone softening for the first time. She's the kind of woman who can smell lies before they're spoken. If anyone can tell us who's behind this, it's her. Amara nodded weakly, clutching her chest. The adrenaline was fading, leaving only exhaustion and fear. I just want this to end. It will, Damien said. But not until we show the world what really happened that night. As they turned onto the quiet streets near Ikeja, Amara looked out the window, rain still falling, washing the city clean as if Lagos itself was trying to erase what had been done. But in her gut, she knew the storm was far from over. For every lie they uncovered, another waited. And somewhere out there, the man with the lion ring was watching, waiting, for his next move. The next morning crept in gray and heavy, the kind of morning Lagos wore when it didn't want to talk. The storm had stopped, but puddles still glistened on the streets, reflecting the city's bruised light. Amara hadn't slept. She sat on the edge of the couch, staring at her trembling hands. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the man's face, the scar, the bracelet, the gun, and the nurse's lifeless body she'd never seen but couldn't stop imagining. When Damien stepped into the room, clean-shaven and crisp in a charcoal suit, he looked like a man ready for war but too smart to call it that. Ready? He asked. Amara nodded, though her heart whispered no. They drove in silence. Kunle handled the wheel, eyes flicking between mirrors like a hawk. The SUV hummed down the expressway toward Balogun Market, where Lagos began to truly breathe, hustle and noise rising like heat. The moment they turned into the market, the air changed. Shouting traders, music from small radios, the scent of roasted corn and ground pepper. It was chaos dressed as life. Damien wore a simple kaftan and sunglasses now, the billionaire stripped down to blend in. Kunle followed close behind, hand hovering near his concealed weapon. Stay close, Damien murmured. And whatever happens, let me do the talking first. Amara tried to smile. I grew up in chaos like this. You're the one who looks nervous. He glanced sideways. Only a fool walks into a lion's den and pretends not to be. They turned a corner lined with bright fabric stalls. Women called out prices, men carried bales on their heads, and somewhere, a child laughed over a radio jingle. Then through the crowd came a voice that cut through the noise like a bell. Damien Cole. Amara turned. A large woman stood behind a table of folded Ankara prints, her geli tied high and proud like a crown. Her dark skin glowed with confidence, and her eyes missed nothing. She wore gold bangles that clinked when she moved, and her laughter was both thunder and sunlight. Mama Kelechi, Damien said, a rare smile cracking his face. You still remember me, eh? She said, arms wide as she embraced him. Look at you, fine like money itself. And this young lady? Amara bowed slightly. Good morning, Ma. Mama Kelechi studied her, one long sharp look that felt like being x-rayed by love and suspicion at once. Pretty face. Sad eyes. Dangerous story behind both. Damien's smile faded. You're right. Of course I'm right, Mama Kelechi said, snapping her fingers. Come inside before these market rats start taking pictures. She led them behind her stall into a narrow passageway that opened into a hidden room, walls lined with old radios, folders, and computers that looked older than the internet but somehow still worked. You still running your small business, I see, Damien said. Mama Kelechi grinned. Everyone sells something, my boy. You sell power. I sell truth. She gestured for them to sit. Now talk before I start charging consultancy fees. Damien laid out everything, starting from the gala, the drugs, the staged video, the attack, the hospital break-in. He spoke cleanly like a man testifying in court, and Mama Kelechi didn't interrupt once. She just listened, eyes sharp, fingers tapping her knee in rhythm. When he finished, silence filled the small room. Finally she said, they didn't just want scandal. They wanted control. Amara frowned. Control? Mama Kelechi leaned forward. Yes. Whoever this lion ring man is, he's not working alone. Lagos elites don't get their hands dirty unless there's profit in the mud. Someone's trying to destroy Damien's name publicly and privately. That means there's a bigger prize behind all this. Like what? Damien asked. Your company, she said simply. Or what it controls. Land, contracts, energy rights. Tell me, have you refused anyone recently? Damien exhaled. Kestrel Global. Marcus Hale. He wanted access to my West African power grid project. Mama Kelechi nodded. There you go. The man couldn't buy your signature, so he's trying to buy your silence, with this girl's pain. Amara's eyes filled. Then they used me, just to hurt him? Yes, Mama Kelechi said gently. But in doing so, they gave you power you don't even understand yet. Amara looked up. Power? The child or children you carry, Mama Kelechi said. If the world believes they are his, then every move they make will have to dance around you. You're not a pawn anymore, my dear. You're the board. Damien leaned forward. So how do we fight back? Mama Kelechi smiled faintly. By being louder than their lies. She turned to one of her old computers and began typing. The screen flickered to life, filled with files, photos, and articles. I keep eyes everywhere. Let's see what the streets have been whispering. Within minutes, she pulled up something that made even Kunle lean closer. It was a photo, grainy but clear enough. The man with the scar and the bracelet. Standing in a bar with none other than Marcus Hale. Amara's heart dropped. That's him. Mama Kelechi zoomed in. They call him Zuko. Former Special Forces, now Hale's fixer in Africa. He handles the dirty work. And from the looks of it, he's handling you too. Damien clenched his fist. Then it's time we handle him. Mama Kelechi raised a hand. Patience, my son. The snake doesn't die if you cut its tail first. You go for the head. She turned to Amara. My dear, are you strong enough to face the man who tried to destroy you? Amara swallowed. I'm terrified, Ma. But I'm tired of being afraid. Mama Kelechi grinned proudly. Good girl. Then we start with a trap. Trap. Kunle echoed. Yes. We make them think you've agreed to their terms. That you'll take the money and disappear. When they come to deliver it, we'll be waiting, with evidence, witnesses, and maybe 1 or 2 police officers who still have souls left. Damien's eyes gleamed. You think they'll take the bait? Mama Kelechi chuckled. Oh, they'll come running. Pride always makes evil careless. She reached for her phone, dialed a number, and said in Yoruba, Bode, it's Mama K. I need my eyes at Eco Atlantic. Big deal happening tonight. Bring the camera, not the gun. She hung up, then looked at them with a mischievous grin. By midnight, we'll know exactly who wants this girl gone, and why. That night, the city seemed to hold its breath. The meeting place was set, a luxury hotel rooftop, chosen by Zuko himself. Amara's message pretending to accept the bribe had worked. Damien and Kunle watched from a black van parked nearby, their communication devices linked to Mama Kelechi's network of watchers hidden in the crowd. Amara stood under the soft glow of rooftop lights, dressed simply in a long green gown that fluttered in the wind. Her heart pounded, but her chin was lifted. The elevator doors slid open. Zuko stepped out, his silver bird bracelet catching the light. He held a black duffel bag. $5 million, he said, voice oily smooth. All yours. Take it and disappear. Lagos will forget your name. Amara's lips trembled, but she forced her voice steady. You mean your name stays clean? Zuko smirked. Names don't matter when you're dead, sweetheart. He unzipped the bag just enough to reveal bundles of cash, and a pistol tucked beneath. Now smile for the camera, he hissed. Say you did it willingly. Say he paid you for it. Then I'll let you walk away. Before Amara could answer, a light flickered across the roof. A red beam from across the street blinked once. Kunle's voice crackled in her ear. We have visual. Don't move. Zuko froze, realizing too late. He looked up. Snipers. Cameras. Police lights flickering in the distance. Damien stepped from the shadows. Smile for the real cameras, Zuko. Zuko's face twisted. He reached for the gun, but Kunle fired first. The bullet struck his shoulder, spinning him around. He fell to his knees, clutching his arm, cursing through his teeth. Amara backed away, shaking. It's over. Damien stood over him, expression carved in stone. Who sent you? Zuko spat blood. You already know. Marcus Hale? Damien asked. Zuko smiled through the pain. He's just one piece. You should have stayed sterile, Damien. It was easier that way. Before anyone could react, he bit down on something in his mouth. A capsule. Within seconds, his body convulsed and he collapsed, foam forming at his lips. Amara screamed. Kunle rushed forward, but it was too late. Zuko was gone. Mama Kelechi's voice came through the earpiece, calm but grim. He silenced himself. Which means the man above him is still breathing, and waiting. Damien looked at the skyline, jaw clenched. Then we drag him into the light. Amara's hand went instinctively to her stomach, trembling. And what about us? She whispered. Damien looked at her, the city's neon lights reflected in his eyes. Then we prepare for the truth that will change everything. The next morning, the entire city seemed to be whispering. Eco-Atlantic buzzed with headlines: armed man found dead at rooftop, anonymous source links shooting to billionaire scandal. None of them mentioned Amara's name, but she could feel the weight of the words pressing on her chest. From a small safe house in Yaba, she watched the news unfold on an old TV screen. Damien stood beside the window, hands clasped behind his back, his reflection sharp against the weak sunlight. Kunle paced the room, phone pressed to his ear, giving coded instructions to their contacts. Mama Kelechi sat cross-legged at the table, spooning beans and pap into her mouth as if nothing extraordinary had happened the night before. You people are acting like we buried a saint, she said, setting the spoon down with a clank. That Zuko man was a hired hand. You chop off one snake head, 3 grow back. Now we chase the real monster. Damien turned from the window. You think Hale will make his next move publicly? Mama Kelechi smiled grimly. No. But his pride will. Men like that don't hide long, they need to be worshipped. When the noise dies down, he'll want to prove he's untouchable. She looked over at Amara. And that's when you walk into the light, my dear. Amara frowned. Me? How? By speaking, Mama Kelechi said. The people who want you silenced thrive on your fear. You want your sister safe? You want this unborn child's name clean? Then the whole of Lagos, no, the whole world, must see your face and hear your truth. Damien shook his head. It's too dangerous. If she goes public, Hale will. He'll panic, Mama Kelechi interrupted. And panic makes the mighty stupid. Silence followed. Amara looked down at her trembling hands. If I speak up, they'll come for me again. What if they hurt Kayamika? Damien's voice softened. They won't. She's under military guard now. I made sure of it. Amara looked up, meeting his eyes. Then let's finish what they started. Mama Kelechi clapped her hands once, grinning. Ah, that's the spirit I like. I'll arrange a discreet live interview, one my friends in the press will stream before the networks can censor it. You'll tell your story and we'll drop the evidence right after. Let the world connect the dots. Kunle ended his call. It's risky, but she's right. Hale will have to react. We can track his response. Damien exhaled, rubbing the bridge of his nose. So we turn their scandal into our truth. Mama Kelechi smirked. Exactly. And when the truth walks in wearing a poor girl's face, even billionaires tremble. That afternoon, Amara sat before the camera in Mama Kelechi's hidden room. The walls were covered with bright fabric to hide the microphones. The light was soft, the air thick with tension. Breathe, Mama Kelechi whispered from behind the camera. Just talk to one person. Imagine you're talking to your sister. Amara nodded, tears already threatening. She looked into the camera lens, her voice breaking but steadying as she spoke. My name is Amara Nwosu. I'm not here to ask for pity. I'm here to tell the truth. She paused, breath shaking. 2 months ago, I met a man who helped me save my sister's life. That night I was drugged. I woke up with no memory and later discovered I was pregnant. I never asked for money. I never blackmailed anyone. I only wanted to live in peace. But someone powerful decided that destroying me was a path to power. Her lips quivered. They wanted to ruin a man's name and bury me under it. The camera zoomed in. To those watching, remember my face. Because I'm not running anymore. Mama Kelechi cut the feed, uploaded the video instantly and leaned back with a deep sigh. There. Now let's see who starts sweating first. The clip spread like fire on dry harmattan. By nightfall, hashtags flooded social media. Hashtag justice for Amara and hashtag who drugged the girl. People in Lagos debated in taxis, offices, and markets. Some called her brave. Others called her liar. But everyone was watching. Inside his Ikoyi penthouse, Marcus Hale was watching too. He stood before a glass wall overlooking the lagoon, the city lights flickering like embers behind him. His assistant, a slim man in a white suit, handed him a tablet. She spoke faster than we expected, the assistant said. Hale's jaw flexed. And Damien hasn't made a statement. Not yet, sir. Hale's lips twisted into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then we'll make one for him. He tapped the tablet, playing a new video file. It showed a grainy clip of Damien in a hotel suite, slumped beside the bed, eyes half open. The camera focused on his hand, resting against a glass with white residue. Alter the timestamp, Hale said. Make it look like he recorded himself that night. Push it to the international press. Title it, Billionaire Confession. The assistant hesitated. Sir, if the metadata gets traced. It won't, Hale said coldly. We're not amateurs. By the next morning, the fake video was everywhere. Damien's name was trending worldwide. Stock prices plummeted. Protesters gathered outside his company headquarters with banners demanding justice. Inside the safe house, Kunle slammed his fist against the table. They framed him again. This time with AI footage. Look, see the glitch in the reflection? The light shifts wrong. Mama Kelechi peered at the screen. It's convincing to the blind. But lies travel faster than proof. Damien stood silent, staring at the fake video looping endlessly. His own voice, distorted, filled the room. I paid her. I ruined her life. Amara turned away, tears stinging her eyes. They'll believe it. They'll believe everything. No, Damien said quietly. Not if we show them what they don't expect. He walked to the table, picked up the manila folder, the same one from the clinic. This has the original paternity report, the doctor's signature, and a timestamp. We'll take it to the press with our own proof of manipulation. But that's not enough, Mama Kelechi warned. Hale owns half the media in Lagos. Then we go beyond Lagos, Damien said. I'll call my contacts in Washington. He may own stories here but not there. He turned to Amara. You've risked everything already. You don't have to stand beside me for this. Amara shook her head. I started this fight when I refused to disappear. I'll end it with you. Kunle's phone buzzed. He checked it, face tightening. Sir, intel from one of Mama Kelechi's boys. Hale's people are moving out. Private jet ready. He's leaving for Abuja tonight. Damien's jaw locked. Then we intercept him before he leaves. How? Amara asked. Mama Kelechi's grin returned. My dear, the same way we caught Zuko, by feeding the snake its own tail. She slid a photo across the table, Hale shaking hands with a Nigerian senator at a charity event. This senator owes me favors. I'll leak that he's hosting a private reconciliation dinner for you tonight. Make Hale believe you're coming to beg. Kunle caught on. And when he shows up. Damien finished, voice cold as steel. We record everything. The confession. The names. The proof. Amara looked from one to the other, realizing the scale of what they were planning. And if it goes wrong? Mama Kelechi stood, tying her headscarf tighter. Then Lagos will bury us. But at least it will know why. That night the trap was set. The senator's mansion glowed under golden lights. Security was thick but blind, bribed, not loyal. Inside the garden, cameras hidden by potted palms blinked faintly. Amara wore a simple white dress, her expression calm but unreadable. Damien stood beside her, composed as ever, though tension flickered behind his eyes. Mama Kelechi's voice came through the earpiece. He's on his way. Remember, smile like a sinner in church. Moments later, Marcus Hale arrived. Tailored suit, diamond cufflinks, and the arrogance of a man who thought the world owed him applause. He approached them slowly, grin wide. Well, the poor girl and the billionaire. My two favorite puppets. Damien's voice was steady. You drugged us both. You framed her. Why? Hale laughed. Because your empire was too clean. The world loves dirt. And now it's mine. Every word was being recorded. Every second stored on multiple hidden drives. But then, just as Damien opened his mouth to press further, a sudden, deafening crack split the night. A gunshot. Glass shattered. Amara screamed. Marcus Hale staggered, clutching his shoulder, blood seeping through his suit. Behind him, A man in a black helmet bolted from the shadows, firing into the air. Chaos erupted. Guards shouted. Kunle's voice roared through the earpiece. "We're compromised. Pull out now." Damien grabbed Amara's hand. "Move." They ran through the side gate as the mansion exploded into panic, security sirens wailing. Hale's voice echoed behind them, furious and raw. "You'll never prove anything, Cole. You don't even know the truth about that baby." Amara froze mid-stride, his words slicing through the night. What did he say? But Kunle's SUV screeched to a halt beside them. He yanked the door open. "Get in." Damien shoved Amara inside, and they sped off into the dark streets, sirens fading behind. Amara turned to Damien, breathless, terrified. What did he mean, the truth about the baby? Damien stared straight ahead, jaw tight, eyes dark. "I don't know," he said. But deep down he wasn't sure he believed himself. The SUV roared through the sleeping streets of Lagos, headlights slicing through the mist. Amara clutched the seatbelt so tightly her fingers ached. Damien sat rigid beside her, face pale but eyes burning. Kunle drove like the city owed him right of way, weaving between trucks and Okadas without a word. The echoes of Hale's last sentence still hung in the air like a curse. "You don't even know the truth about that baby." Amara finally broke the silence. "What did he mean, Damien? What truth?" Damien didn't answer immediately. His voice when it came was low. "Hale never says anything by accident. If he mentioned the baby, it means the child," he caught himself, corrected. "The twins are part of something bigger." Kunle glanced into the rearview mirror. "Sir, we can't go back to the safe house. They know every route we've used." Damien nodded. "Head to the warehouse in Apapa. The old one." Amara frowned. "What warehouse?" "It belonged to my father," Damien said. "No one's been there in years. It's off the books." Rain began to fall again, soft at first, then harder, as if the heavens had joined the chase. The warehouse stood on the edge of the docks. Massive, quiet, forgotten. Kunle checked the perimeter before waving them inside. Amara stepped over broken glass and stacks of dusty crates. "Why do I feel like every time I think it's over, it just begins again?" Damien's lips tightened. "Because people like Hale don't stop until they win or die." Kunle sealed the door and set down his bag. "I'll monitor police channels. We've got about an hour before the noise from that gunfight hits social media." Damien pulled out his phone, connected it to a small encrypted device, and opened a folder labeled Medical Archives. Lines of data appeared. Dates, doctor names, test results. Amara's stomach churned. "What is that?" "My medical history," he said quietly. "Everything from the accident in Atlanta until now." She hesitated. "You're trying to find proof you weren't really sterile." "Yes," he said. "If Hale knew something I didn't, it starts here." He clicked a file, the fertility test from 3 years ago. The results appeared, but something about the format was off. The lab name was correct, but the footer read Cross-Gene Diagnostics. Damien frowned. "That's strange. The original test was from Emory Hospital, not Cross-Gene." Mama Kelechi's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Repeat that name." "Cross-Gene Diagnostics." There was a pause, then her sharp intake of breath. "Ah, I know that name. It's a private biotech lab Hale bought 2 years ago. They handle genetic engineering projects and medical alterations." Damien's eyes narrowed. "You're saying Hale might have tampered with my medical results?" Mama Kelechi's tone turned grim. "Or worse, he might have tampered with you." Amara gasped. "Tampered?" "Think," Mama Kelechi said. "If he had access to your blood samples, your DNA, your surgery records, he could have manipulated them to make you believe you couldn't father a child. Then when the time came, he could use that lie against you." Damien's voice was cold steel. "And he used Amara as the proof." Amara felt her chest tighten. "So the baby is really yours?" He looked at her, eyes searching hers as if the answer lived in her face. "If what Mama Kelechi says is true, then yes." Her breath hitched. Relief, fear, and confusion crashed into one another. "Then why would he say there's more I don't know?" Before anyone could respond, Kunle stiffened. His phone buzzed. "We've got company." Damien spun. "Police." Kunle shook his head. "No lights. No sirens. 2 black SUVs. They stopped at the junction and killed the headlights." Mama Kelechi's voice returned, urgent. "My boys just spotted movement near Apapa. Leave now. It's Hale's strike team." Damien cursed under his breath. "They traced the signal from my device." Amara's heart pounded. "What do we do?" Kunle moved to the back door. There's a service tunnel through the dockyard. If we move fast, we can make it to the ferry before they circle the building. They slipped out the back, rain soaking their clothes as they ran through the narrow alley. Shouts echoed behind them. Flashlights cut across the darkness. Kunle fired a warning shot and they ducked behind containers. Go, he barked. I'll hold them off. Damien grabbed his arm. No one gets left behind, Kunle. Kunle smirked. You pay me to protect you, sir. Not to follow orders that get us all killed. He shoved Damien toward the docks. Now move. Damien pulled Amara along, their shoes splashing through puddles. She looked back just in time to see Kunle exchange fire with the men chasing them, quick, precise, fearless. Then an explosion. The blast threw them both forward. Amara screamed as she hit the ground, the sound ringing in her ears. Kunle? Damien shouted, trying to get up. But smoke and flame had already swallowed the alley. Damien, Amara cried, gripping his arm, we have to go. He hesitated, anguish etched deep in his face, then turned and ran with her toward the dockyard. They stumbled onto a small ferry moored at the edge of the water. The driver, a young man with dreadlocks and wide, frightened eyes, looked up in confusion. Please, Amara pleaded. We need to leave now. The man didn't ask questions. He untied the rope, and the boat drifted into the black water. From the burning dock behind them, faint gunfire echoed into the rain. Damien stood at the bow, soaked and trembling with rage. Hale won't stop. Not after this. Amara wrapped her arms around herself. Then where do we go now? He turned to her slowly. Somewhere Hale can't touch us, and where the truth will finally find him. The ferry glided toward the lagoon's mouth, Lagos fading into smoky distance. Mama Kelechi's voice came faintly over the radio, crackling, distorted, but alive. I have something for you. Files. Hale's real project. They called it Genesis. Meet me at dawn. Amara's heart clenched. Genesis? Damien frowned. What kind of project? The line crackled again, then cut out completely. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the waves. Damien stared into the dark water, voice low. Whatever Genesis is, it's tied to us. To the baby. Maybe even to how this started. Amara looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. And what if the truth destroys us both? He turned toward her, eyes shadowed. Then at least we'll die knowing it. The ferry drifted into the storm, carrying them toward a dawn neither of them were ready for. The sky above the lagoon was the color of bruised metal when the ferry scraped the shore at dawn. The rain had thinned to mist, but the city behind them still smoked in patches, proof that Lagos never slept through its chaos. Damien helped Amara out of the boat. Her steps were unsteady, her face pale. She was exhausted, soaked, terrified, and still, somehow, unbroken. They climbed up a narrow footpath to an abandoned dockside warehouse. The early sun cut through the slats, streaking gold across the dust. A figure waited by the door, wrapped in a faded shawl. Mama Kelechi. Her expression was grim, her usual humor replaced by something colder. You both look like people who've seen the devil, she said quietly. Damien's jaw tightened. We met his servants. She nodded once. Then you'd better sit. Because what I found last night will burn worse than anything Hale planned. She led them into the warehouse. On an old table sat a laptop, its cracked screen flickering with files labeled Project Genesis, Confidential. Amara's voice trembled. You said Genesis was Hale's project. What is it? Mama Kelechi opened one of the folders. Photos, charts, medical records, some of them marked with Damien's name. It started as a fertility research initiative, she explained. But Hale wasn't trying to help people have children. He was trying to design them. Damien frowned. Design? Yes, Mama Kelechi said. Genetically. He took samples from men with high intelligence, stamina, and influence, people like you, Damien, and used them to experiment with artificial conception. He built a gene bank, mixing DNA without consent. Some donors were told they were infertile so he could use their genetic material secretly. Amara froze. Wait, are you saying? Mama Kelechi turned the screen toward her. The night you were drugged, Hale's men didn't just frame you. They took samples, from both of you. He used Damien's DNA to fertilize one of your eggs, artificially. The pregnancy was real but the act was staged. The air seemed to vanish. Amara's knees buckled and she clutched the edge of the table. So, we never. Damien stepped closer, his voice low but shaking. They violated both of us. Mama Kelechi nodded. Hale wanted a child with your bloodline, Damien, a living patent he could control. But when the system registered a viable pregnancy, he realized you'd both survive the setup. So he switched tactics. Destroy your name, discredit her, and take the children after birth. Amara's eyes filled with tears. The twins, he wants to own them? Exactly, Mama Kelechi said. Genesis isn't about creation. It's about control. Those babies are proof of his experiment, his leverage over every investor who bought into his biotech dreams. Silence fell heavy and suffocating. Damien stared at the screen, fists trembling. We need to expose this. Everything. The records, the funding, the labs. Mama Kelechi nodded, sliding a flash drive across the table. Everything you need is here. Financial trails, genetic logs, even video testimony from one of Hale's own doctors who ran away last month. Get this to the media abroad, before Hale erases it. Suddenly, a voice came from the doorway. No need. I'll erase it myself. They turned. Marcus Hale stood there, blood seeping through the bandage on his shoulder, a pistol steady in his hand. Behind him, 2 armed men stepped into view. Damien moved instinctively, placing himself between Hale and Amara. You should have stayed in hiding. Hale smiled faintly. And miss my masterpiece's final act? No, Damien. You don't get to end this story. You ruin lives, Damien growled. You turned science into slavery. Hale shrugged. I call it evolution. The world pays billions for progress. Why not make progress profitable? He raised the gun slightly toward Amara. Hand over the drive, Miss Nwosu, and I'll let you and the children live long enough to deliver them. Amara shook her head, tears streaming down her face. They're not your project. They're my children. Hale's smile twisted. You think you can raise them in a one-room flat? They're worth more than your entire city. Worth? Damien snapped. That's all you ever see. He stepped forward, slow and deliberate. Tell me something, Hale. When you altered my records, when you lied to me about my own body, did you ever think I wouldn't find out? Hale's composure faltered just for a second. You were never supposed to. You were just the blueprint. That was the moment Kunle's voice crackled faintly through the earpiece Amara still wore. When I say now, drop. She froze, heart hammering. Kunle was alive. Hale's men shifted, uneasy. The sound of faint boots outside, the echo of backup closing in. Hale noticed too late. Now! Kunle shouted. Amara dropped to the floor as a flashbang rolled into the warehouse. White light exploded. The air filled with shouts and gunfire. Kunle stormed in through the side entrance, bleeding but fierce, firing twice. One of Hale's men fell. Damien lunged at Hale, slamming the gun aside. They crashed into the table, scattering the files. The flash drive slid across the floor, straight to Amara's feet. She grabbed it, clutching it to her chest. Hale roared, wrestling Damien to the ground, fists flying. You think this changes anything? The world will still believe me. Damien struck back, fury burning through years of control. Not anymore. The gun skittered across the floor. Hale scrambled for it, but Amara was faster. She kicked it away, sending it under a crate. Mama Kelechi, crouched behind a pillar, called out, Police on their way, my boys made sure of it. Hale looked around, cornered, wounded, breathing hard. His eyes found Amara again. You think this makes you a hero? No, she said, standing firm despite her trembling. It makes me free. Sirens wailed outside. Hale's men bolted through the back, leaving him surrounded. Damien hauled himself up, bruised, bleeding, but unbroken. It's over. Hale's lips curled into a bitter smile. For you maybe. But for those children, never. Then he reached into his jacket pocket, pressed something, and the laptop's screen burst into static. The files began deleting themselves. No. Mama Kelechi screamed. Amara lunged forward, yanking the flash drive free just before the system fried. Smoke rose from the laptop circuits. Kunle grabbed Hale by the collar and slammed him against the wall. You're done, old man. The sirens grew louder. Blue lights filled the doorway. Police stormed in, weapons raised. Damien turned to Amara. Do you still have it? She held up the drive, clutching it like a lifeline. Every last secret. Mama Kelechi smiled through tears. Then the world will finally know. 2 weeks later. The headlines read. Project Genesis exposed. Billionaire Marcus Hale arrested for illegal human experimentation. Amara Nwosu cleared of all accusations. DNA proves twins are biological children of Damien Cole. The world had changed overnight. Investors fled Hale's company, the government opened investigations, and for the first time in years, truth outweighed power. Amara stood at the hospital window watching her newborn twins sleep, two tiny bundles of life wrapped in white. One boy, one girl. Mama Kelechi sat by her bed, smiling proudly. Strong like their mother. And smart like their father. God knows they'll need both. Amara turned to Damien, who stood beside the crib, looking down with eyes that had finally softened. You don't have to stay, she whispered. You've done enough. He looked up, meeting her gaze. You're right. I don't have to. But I want to. Amara smiled faintly. After everything, I don't even know what comes next. He stepped closer. Whatever it is, we face it together. She reached for his hand. You think we can start over? He squeezed gently. We don't need to start over. We just start right. The twins stirred softly, one letting out a tiny cry. Amara bent to pick them up, tears of peace finally breaking through. Outside, the city was alive again. No sirens, no gunfire, just the hum of life moving forward. Mama Kelechi stood, wiping her eyes. I told you something from the beginning. Truth never hides forever. It just waits for the right story to bring it home. Amara smiled through tears. Then maybe this was always meant to be our story. Damien looked down at the twins, his children, her miracle, and whispered, and maybe they're the real beginning. The genesis that ended the darkness. The camera would fade on the family framed in morning light, a city healing behind them, the ghosts of fear finally at rest. But the flash drive, sealed in a secure vault, still held one last hidden file labeled Genesis, Phase 2. And as the screen went black, that file began to upload on its own.